Back on February 2nd, one tweet ignited a seismic shift in coding. Just 5 months ago, the term vibe coding didn't exist. Today, it's revolutionizing how software gets built. Google just dropped their Gemini CLI, Anthropic's supercharged Claude's coding abilities, with new code artifacts that generate, debug, and share applications without deployment, and enterprise giants like Airtable and Asana are completely rebuilding their platforms around this phenomenon. We're witnessing the fastest transformation in software development history, from zero to ubiquity in less than half a year. The question isn't whether vibe coding will change everything anymore. It's whether you understand what's happening before it's too late to adapt. But first, we need to understand how one simple message managed to reshape an entire industry, the birth of a revolution. On February 2nd, Andrej Karpathy tweeted, "There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists." This single message captured what thousands of developers were already experiencing but couldn't articulate. The timing wasn't accidental. Large language models had reached a threshold where they could actually understand complex coding requests and generate working solutions. What made this moment particularly ripe was the convergence of several technical and cultural factors. LLMs had achieved genuine coding competence, capable of handling real-world programming tasks beyond simple code completion. Meanwhile, developers were ready for a fundamental shift in how software gets built, welcoming AI assistance rather than fearing it. The barrier between having an idea and building software remained impossibly high for most people, and AI coding assistants were finally sophisticated enough to bridge that gap. Karpathy's concept evolved rapidly from his personal workflow into something much bigger. He described treating English as a programming language, having conversations with code instead of fighting with syntax. This resonated because it addressed the core frustration of programming, the gap between human thought and machine instruction. Within weeks, other developers were sharing their own vibe coding experiences, expanding the concept beyond Karpathy's original framework. The progression from niche experiment to mainstream adoption happened at unprecedented speed. Within months, vibe coding became twice as searched compared to prompt engineering, indicating rapid cultural adoption. Google Trends data showed consistent month-over-month growth, with spikes correlating to major platform announcements and viral social media posts. The term was appearing in job postings, conference talks, and product descriptions across the industry. This resonated powerfully with both technical and non-technical audiences for different reasons. Professional developers saw it as liberation from tedious syntax and debugging. Non-technical users saw it as their first real pathway into building software. The concept bridged two worlds that had been separated by artificial barriers. The revolution was underway, but the real battle was just beginning. Even before Karpathy coined the term, platforms like Bolt, Lovable, and Cursor were already gaining traction and demonstrating the potential of AI-assisted coding. These early platforms laid the groundwork for broader adoption and showed what was possible when developers could describe their intent rather than write code manually. This single idea became the foundation for completely reimagining software creation. Previous paradigm shifts in programming took years or decades to achieve widespread adoption. Object-oriented programming, web development, mobile development, all followed predictable cycles of gradual acceptance. Vibe coding compressed this timeline into months, creating the fastest transformation the software industry has ever witnessed. The platform wars begin. Google and Anthropic moved first, launching competing platforms that would define the battlefield. Google's opening salvo was Gemini CLI, positioned as a direct challenge to established players while leveraging their massive scale for aggressive pricing. They're offering the tool completely free, with usage limits of 60 queries per minute and 1,000 per day. These numbers weren't arbitrary. Google measured their own developers' usage patterns and doubled that average to set the boundaries, demonstrating strategic pricing power. The message was clear: we can afford to give this away because we have the infrastructure and resources to absorb the costs. Gemini CLI runs on the Gemini 2.5 Pro model, which sits at the top of coding benchmarks and includes full MCP support. The tool integrates directly into developers' terminals, staying true to the command line interface that programmers have used for decades. Google's developer relations team demonstrated the power by showing how SMC could set up an entire project perfectly using just a YouTube tutorial link. This wasn't just feature parity, it was a demonstration of Google's pricing power and technical capabilities. Anthropic countered with a fundamentally different approach. Instead of building another terminal tool, they embedded vibe coding directly into Claude's chat interface. Users can create artifacts that interact with Claude through an API, turning conversations into functional applications. The workflow is straightforward. Describe what you want, watch Claude write the code, debug issues together, and then share the finished app through a simple link. Other users can fork and customize these artifacts, creating a social ecosystem of shared vibe coding projects. This split highlights two visions: terminal-savvy developers versus conversational-first creators. Google's terminal-focused solution appeals to traditional developers who live in command-line environments. They're betting that the future of vibe coding stays rooted in familiar developer workflows. Anthropic's chat-based approach targets a broader audience, including non-technical users who find conversations more natural than terminal commands. They're betting that vibe coding's real power lies in accessibility, not just improved developer productivity. This competition extends beyond Google and Anthropic. Both companies are positioning themselves against established players like Cursor, which has been gaining significant market share from GitHub Copilot. The speed of competitive responses shows how seriously everyone is taking this space. Features that took months to develop in traditional software cycles are appearing in weeks. The competition is accelerating innovation at unprecedented speed. Each platform announcement triggers immediate responses from competitors. This rapid iteration is pushing capabilities forward faster than anyone anticipated. But the real disruption isn't coming from these new platforms at all. The market dynamics are driving increasingly generous free tiers across all platforms. Companies are willing to operate at losses in the short term to build user bases and gather usage data. This creates a feedback loop where each platform must offer more capabilities for free to remain competitive. Early performance data shows interesting patterns in user adoption. Terminal-based tools see higher engagement from experienced developers who can integrate them into existing workflows. Chat-based approaches attract more experimental users and non-technical creators who build simple applications. The technical benchmarks are still emerging, but user satisfaction metrics suggest both approaches have found their audiences. Enterprise giants rebuild everything. The most shocking development is happening with enterprise software giants that are throwing out decades of established business models to rebuild everything around vibe coding capabilities. These aren't minor feature additions or experimental side projects. These are fundamental platform reconstructions that risk existing revenue streams for the promise of AI-native futures. Airtable represents the most dramatic example of this transformation. The company has announced it's refounding itself as an AI-native app platform, moving far beyond its original spreadsheet database hybrid model. They're integrating vibe coding directly into their core infrastructure, allowing users to describe business applications in natural language and watch them materialize with full production readiness and enterprise scalability. This isn't an add-on feature. It's a complete reimagining of what Airtable exists to do. Asana followed immediately with their AI Studio launch, positioning it as a no-code builder for AI-powered workflows. Users can now describe routine organizational tasks and watch Asana generate automated solutions tailored to their specific needs. The platform handles everything from workflow logic to integration points, turning conversations into functional business processes. This represents a massive expansion beyond traditional project management into general business automation. These companies are willing to cannibalize their existing business models because they understand the existential threat and opportunity vibe coding represents. Their current products become commoditized when users can build equivalent functionality through simple conversations with AI. The choice is clear: lead the transformation or become irrelevant as customers migrate to platforms that offer vibe coding capabilities. Rewiring decades-old architectures to parse natural language and output production-ready workflows demands massive rewrites of core APIs and security layers. The engineering investment is massive, but the alternative is watching customer bases migrate to AI-native competitors. Customer demand is driving these platform overhauls with unprecedented urgency. Enterprise users are experiencing vibe coding through personal tools and demanding similar capabilities in their business software. They're asking why they can build functional applications through conversations at home, but still need technical teams for basic workflow automation at work. This demand isn't coming from IT departments, it's coming from business users who have experienced the power of natural language programming. The competitive pressure is forcing rapid transformation across the entire enterprise software landscape. Companies that hesitate face the risk of being leapfrogged by competitors who embrace vibe coding capabilities. The speed of these announcements shows how seriously established players are taking this threat. Platforms that took years to develop traditional features are now scrambling to add conversational interfaces within months. These changes are creating new categories of business applications that didn't exist before. The combination of enterprise-grade infrastructure with conversational programming interfaces enables applications that are both sophisticated and accessible. Users can now build complex business logic without technical expertise, opening possibilities that were previously impossible. The broader implications for the SaaS industry are profound. Vibe coding is becoming table stakes for enterprise software platforms. Companies that don't offer these capabilities will find themselves at a competitive disadvantage as customers expect natural language interfaces as standard functionality. But the transformation extends far beyond corporate boardrooms and enterprise contracts. The democratization effect. The most dramatic shift is happening in coffee shops, living rooms, and small businesses where people with zero programming experience are building sophisticated applications that work. Non-technical users are creating functional software that previously required teams of professional developers and months of development time. The barrier between having an idea and building working software has essentially disappeared. Lovable's recent global hackathon provided concrete evidence of this transformation. The event generated more than 250,000 different applications built by users of their platform. CEO Antonio noted that this single weekend produced more apps than the first 5 years of the internet combined. These weren't simple prototypes or proof-of-concept demos. Participants created functional applications with databases, user authentication, and complex business logic, using nothing but natural language descriptions of what they wanted to build. The traditional barriers between technical and non-technical roles are crumbling rapidly. Marketing managers are building customer analytics dashboards instead of requesting them from IT departments. Small business owners are creating inventory management systems rather than purchasing expensive software licenses. Students are building applications to solve campus problems without taking computer science courses. The knowledge gap that previously separated idea generators from application builders no longer exists. Real-world adoption is producing remarkable cost savings for businesses implementing vibe coding workflows internally. One Replit user documented building a complete ERP automation system for $400 using vibe coding tools compared to a vendor quote of $150,000 for equivalent functionality. This represents a 99.7% cost reduction for custom software development. Companies are realizing they can solve internal problems through conversational programming rather than hiring development teams or purchasing enterprise software. The speed of application development has compressed from months to minutes in many cases. Replit CEO Amjad Masad demonstrated building a live polling application with databases, authentication, and quality checks in just 15 minutes during a public presentation. This acceleration enables businesses to prototype ideas immediately, test concepts with real users, and iterate based on feedback within the same day. Professional developers are adapting to this new landscape by working alongside AI-empowered non-coders rather than competing with them. Development teams are shifting focus from writing basic application code to handling complex system architecture, security implementations, and integration challenges. The tools augment developer capabilities rather than replacing them, allowing technical teams to write more code and tackle more sophisticated problems, while non-technical colleagues handle routine application development. The quality and sophistication of first-time builder applications continues to improve as vibe coding tools become more capable. Users with limited technical backgrounds are creating applications that handle real business processes, manage data effectively, and provide professional user experiences. This trend is driving innovation as new perspectives and domain expertise enter the software development process without traditional technical gatekeepers. The economic implications of dramatically reduced software development costs are reshaping how businesses approach technology solutions. Startups can build minimum viable products without hiring development teams. Small businesses can create custom applications instead of adapting their processes to existing software. This democratization is fostering innovation by removing financial barriers to software creation. These changes are transforming hiring practices and team structures across organizations. Companies are seeking individuals who can bridge technical and non-technical roles, creating new career paths for people with diverse skill sets. Non-coders and coders now collaborate in the same ecosystem, propelled by Vibe Coding's accessibility. But this collaboration is about to become even more sophisticated as developers discover new ways to orchestrate their AI assistants. The multi-agent future. The next evolution is already emerging, and it's more radical than anything we've seen so far. Developers are now orchestrating multiple AI coding agents simultaneously, creating workflows where 3, 4, or even dozens of AI models work on the same project in parallel. This isn't just using one AI assistant anymore. It's managing entire teams of specialized AI agents that compete and collaborate to produce better code faster. McKay Wrigley of Takeoff AI demonstrates this approach perfectly with his multi-agent workflow. He spins up 3 coding agents at once: Claude Opus 4, Gemini 2.5 Pro, and OpenAI 0.3, all working on the same task simultaneously, then picks the winner. This represents a fundamental shift from single-agent interactions to competitive multi-agent environments, where developers select the best output from multiple AI models working in parallel. The technical architecture enabling these multi-agent coding environments requires sophisticated orchestration systems. Developers are building frameworks that can sync project state across multiple AI platforms, manage parallel conversations, and merge outputs from different models. These systems handle the complexity of coordinating agents that may approach problems differently while maintaining consistent project context across all interactions. Competition between AI models is producing measurably better results than single-agent approaches. When multiple models tackle the same coding challenge, developers can identify the strengths and weaknesses of each approach. One model might excel at algorithm design, while another generates cleaner user interfaces. This competitive dynamic pushes each model to perform at its highest capability, while giving developers multiple solution paths to evaluate. The emergence of orchestrator agents managing dozens of specialized sub-agents represents the cutting edge of this trend. Greg Kamrout from Arc Prize describes his advanced setup: one orchestrator agent controlling 85 sub-agents working in parallel, each spawning from his stream of consciousness and testing from the main orchestrator. This configuration demonstrates how complex multi-agent systems can become, with hierarchical structures that mirror traditional software development teams. Productivity gains from parallel processing of coding tasks are substantial. Tasks that previously required sequential completion can now run simultaneously across different agents. Database design, front-end development, API creation, and testing can all proceed in parallel, dramatically reducing project timelines. The coordination overhead is offset by the speed of parallel execution. Managing multi-agent workflows requires entirely new skills from developers. They must understand the strengths and limitations of different AI models, coordinate parallel work streams, and synthesize outputs from multiple sources. The role shifts from writing code to orchestrating AI teams, requiring project management capabilities alongside technical expertise. Skills now center on managing AI resources and designing workflows rather than writing individual lines of code. The infrastructure requirements and costs of running multiple AI coding assistants are significant considerations. Parallel AI usage multiplies computational costs and requires robust systems to manage multiple API connections and model interactions. Organizations must evaluate whether the productivity gains justify the increased infrastructure investment. This approach is fundamentally changing the nature of software development work. Developers are becoming AI team managers rather than individual contributors. The focus shifts from direct code creation to designing agent workflows, evaluating outputs, and making strategic decisions about task distribution across AI capabilities. Software development becomes less about technical coding skills and more about understanding business requirements, designing system architecture, and managing AI resources effectively. The speed of this transformation is unlike anything the industry has experienced before. What started as a single tweet has become a complete industry overhaul in just 5 months. Enterprise giants like Airtable and Asana are rebuilding their platforms. Non-technical users are creating sophisticated applications, and developers are orchestrating teams of AI agents. This isn't a gradual shift anymore. It's a fundamental reimagining of how software gets built. Adaptation isn't optional in this new landscape. Companies that don't embrace vibe coding capabilities will find themselves competing against organizations that can build software through conversations. The competitive advantage now belongs to those who understand these tools and integrate them into their workflows immediately. If you're ready to ride the vibe coding wave, hit like and subscribe for deep dives into these tools. Will your next teammate be human or a swarm of AI agents?